Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. I hope you're having an amazing day. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin just really quick, help you understand what's happening here with this correction and how much longer could it go. More importantly, dollar cost average targets just in case the price were to continue to pull back as we might expect that to happen. All right. Now, that being said, not a financial advisor, just love teaching people how to trade. I hope you can learn something here today. CryptoCache.tech is the website if you want to become a better trader. I have a trading community, trading academy, and also I send out signals for every trade that I take so you can learn how to structure your trades more effectively in this always ever-changing dynamic world of cryptocurrency we all try to trade. All right, so that being said, we'll take a look at that later. CryptoCache.tech is the link in the description below. Taking a look here, of course, at Bitcoin. So we'll go ahead and speak to the obvious here. If we go to Bitcoin, we look at the 50-day set moving average. It's trending right around 40,500. There is a support channel here right between 40,000 and 40,500. Okay, so I do feel as if the price were to come to travel into that area, we should see some pretty decent, solid, support. Another thing to note as well, just kind of touch on this here. If you want to look at the larger time frame here, we can kind of see a Fibonacci retracement level of 40,500, concurrent with a 50-day SMA, working as a potential support level. In other words, it was a support level here, and of course, helped the price action stay higher there. And then again here today, potentially, if we come down to 40,500. Could expect a bounce. Right? That should be a likely support level, once again, based on the 50-day SMA, support channel of 40,000 to 40,500, and of course that Fibonacci retracement line. So just something to be mindful of. I think that's probably the more realistic time frame there. So I would to touch on, I guess, dollar cost average targets. 40,500 would be a good starting point, 40,000, and of course 39 and 38. Kind of just some simple round numbers there, but for the most part, those are all numbers that are commonly hit and more likely to be support levels in the overall sense of things. All right, now what we want to go ahead and take a look at as well is the RSI, kind of see where we're at. We're still holding up over 50. That's fantastic. I would imagine we're going to probably get a bounce off of 50 in the RSI. That does happen quite frequently. And if we were to, and we kind of look at that synonymous with a price action, there's a good chance that 40,500 is probably that same level. Right, so the price were to continue to come down lower, 40,500 I speculate will be probably the strongest initial support we should experience. All right, so that's good stuff there in that sense. Let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-hour. 4-hour MACD is diverging, of course. In fact, last night I closed majority of my signals I had opened yesterday as a community here, and glad we did because it was at 42,000. Now it's at 41. Kind of seems like it's struggling and wanting to come back down. It didn't have enough volume going into this resistance level. We can see a strong resistance there that was hit almost three times, right around 42,400 is a round number. But more closely, if you look at the time frame, 42,200 is essentially the resistance level there on the 4-hour. We couldn't break above, and if I'm not mistaken, too, on the 1-day, we also had a resistance level, and that is right at about 42,250. So let's just say a round number of 42,200 as a resistance level we're seeing more consistently in the last 24 to 48 hours. And that is something that is pretty obvious that it's having trouble breaking above. Now, is there potential for it to bounce off of the current support level? Probably not. Once again, just depends on the overall sense of things, but with the low volume that we've seen over the weekend, this is kind of common in the weekends, we're seeing that retracement. And it makes sense. We had a very strong Friday leading into the weekend, and that will have a tendency of, correcting itself. Not to say the sky is falling and we're going to, expect a bunch of, adverse actions here. I would speculate right now that 40,500 will be the initial support level, followed by 40,000 as a secondary. Again, this support channel here, if you see, there's a lot of support here, including the 200 and the 50-day SMA. They're all kind of congregating here between 40,000 and 40,500. So I can confidently say between 40,000 and 40,500 is a safe support channel, and in that regard, a dollar cost average target somewhere in that range would be ideal. Okay. Now, is there potential to come lower? Of course, there's always that potential, but it'll probably be a lot less common or probably a lot less likely based on all the moving averages, the RSI, etc., kind of relaxing and hanging out right there. Okay. Now, we are coming up to a potential bounce, but potentially not as well because RSI I feel it's a little more effective on the 1-day, but on the 4-hour you can see that we're coming down here for a potential either bounce and or continuation of the lower. Now, the likelihood of it bouncing is higher in that sense just based on the way that an RSI traditionally works. We're losing that relative strength. It was overextended. Now it's corrected itself back to normal. So, par right now should be 41,000. Okay. So 41,000 could effectively be the bottom where we can see this larger candle wick here. The price comes down and effectively bounced off that support. Okay. Okay, let's look at the 1 hour and see kind of what that looks like. We can see a nice little green candle here forming. Now this isn't closed yet. We've got 10 minutes left in this trading hour, but generally speaking, we could see this be the potential bottom here for the moment. Once again, based on the large amount of volume here we see at this range. So we can see a lot of volume, of course, at that price range. But the most amount of support volume too, by the way, is 39,000. So, in the recent past, we've seen the largest volume accumulation of 39,000. So to touch on 39, just so you know, that should probably be the lowest point in which we'll see the price average out if it were to, okay? Because we could see this, this decrease back down to that level. Not saying it's going to happen, but if it does, 39,000 would be another dollar cost average target based on the fact that it, worst case scenario, it wicks down to 38, which is potential. We'd still be holding above that support level, that ascending type of pattern, that trend line that's been holding present ever since we've been trading in the last few weeks, right? A few months rather. So take a look here, obviously. Once again, just to reiterate, you've heard me probably talk about this, but generally speaking, we've got 37,000 here, right, back in January, 38,000 in February, and now that's 38. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Rewind, let's go here. This is 35,000. 37,000 and now 38. Okay, so if our next higher low, so to speak, is in order to retain that, we'd want to be over, just say in the range of 38.5 and or 39. Okay, so our next low cannot be lower than 38,000 in order to continue this higher low pattern, right? Again, no guarantees, but the likelihood of this continuing higher from here is still greater than the likelihood of it breaking to the downside. Again, we got a lot of support, tremendous amount of volume in this range, and you can tell, once again, 38 to 39,000 is a very strong support in volume, right? Once again, most people investing in this coin invested at 39,000 is basically what that's telling us. So therefore, they're going to see that as a good value. Anything lower than that is a great value, and they're going to invest and not want to sell. So we might see some selling pressure to 39. If so, all well and good. We should experience a bounce off of either A, 40,500, B, 40,000, or C, 39,000. So 39, 40, and 40.5 are effectively the targets I would recommend for dollar cost average. Last thing we want to touch on here is the 1 hour. It does look overextended here to me, which makes sense. We hit a 9 on TD sequential. We got this little turnaround. So the likelihood of the price going either A, sideways for a little while, or back up from here is quite high. So try not to concern yourself with the fact that, hey, we're in dire straits now, the price is going straight down. It probably and should likely continue sideways, maybe try to go down once more, and then come back up from there. Or we get consolidation, just comes back up as if nothing ever happened, right? But this is a natural type of occurrence. We see this a lot, and it's kind of that slow bleed on the weekend. If this was a weekday, it probably would have been a lot faster. And once again, lower volume, therefore the price is wanting to come back down based on it being overextended going into a weekend. That's why I try to talk about the fact that when you have a green week, you can expect in most cases a red weekend because of the fact that those profits are going to be taken by everyone that's invested throughout the work week, right? And the inverse can apply too. Red week followed by a green weekend. Again, it's that whole relative strength, aspect of things kind of factoring in. But again, TD sequential tells us we should expect some sideways action at the very least, possibly an upward momentous push from here. I wouldn't expect that, but again, crypto has a tendency of surprising the hell out of us, right? So we never truly know. Last thing to look at is Ichimoku Cloud. This does tell us if we have a short position open, we want to keep it open because we did successfully break below the cloud. So this is something to bear in mind. 40,100 should probably be, sorry, I misspoke, 41,000. Let's say 41,200 actually is right where this Fibonacci retracement level is. And coincidentally, that's right where the cloud is accumulating, right? The lower cloud, the lower lead, so to speak. When you break below the cloud, for example, like this, yes, the price is trying to come back up, but there's a strong chance we're going to get a resistance here for the next 24 hours at this level. Again, the cloud is very good because it's based on moving averages, and it kind of helps us understand that, hey, in this recent past, now that we're on this side of this trend, we're probably going to continue to see this. So if I were to, speculate on everything I've seen here so far, we're still looking great in the big picture, but I think a correction down to 38/39 is potential here based on the fact that we're below the cloud now. And again, a correction to 38 or 39, I'm not trying to scare you and then think that, hey, the sky is falling. It's not. Heaven forbid it comes down to that level. I think we're still going to hold. But the likelihood of it continuing, down from here or to stay under the cloud at least for the next day of trading is fairly high based on just this stuff here. So again, I never make a decision based on one indicator, but thankfully the Ichimoku Cloud has like 3 indicators built into it. So it kind of increases your odds of success, right? And it's a conservative indicator. It's conservatively telling us that the bulls have lost control, we're under the cloud, and then if you have a short position open, you want to keep it open. Okay, so again, the likelihood of it breaking right back up through the cloud is fairly low. It doesn't happen all the time. And by the way, in order to get a buy confirmation, we want the price to be back up over 42,000. It's going to be a little while before we see that. So I would say in 24 hours, we'll have a much better understanding of how that's going to hold. But for now, it does appear that 41,200 is the tentative resistance, and we could expect 40,500/40,000 to be tested soon. That's potential reality. Again, just based on a couple of different things, but big picture, I'm still totally bullish on Bitcoin. I think that we're going to eventually and inevitably break to the upside here, and we'll be in good shape with this just continuing to, kind of squeeze itself into this little wedge where you can see it's kind of working itself down. It's been working itself up. The likelihood of it continuing up from here is higher because once again, we do have a hidden bullish divergence on the weekly. So I've cut through this previously here, where we have basically the previous low is lower than this, right? So we're making higher lows essentially, but the RSI is making lower lows. That tells us there's a shift in momentum, and the fact that we are oversold implies the price will come up from here, not down. So a breakout to the upside is much more higher. That's just my personal opinion. Again, you take everything, put it all together, and you kind of extract what you can and kind of come to a conclusion. Big picture, Bitcoin's looking good. Midterm, or just say within the next 24 to 48 hours, likely correction to the downside, and we should expect a bounce off of 38/39 if it were to come down there. 40,500 is probably a more likely target here in the immediate future. So DCA targets once more, 40,500, 40,000, 39,000, and once again, worst case scenario, maybe just say 38,000 or 37.5 if you get a little candle wick down. I think we're going to be just fine though. Try not to worry. All right, I hope you found benefit here. If you did, like and subscribe, of course. Once again, I have a trading community, link in the description below, CryptoCache.tech. I send out signals for every trade that I take. Last night we did cancel our signals, of course. I'm glad we did because the price came right back down. And what we'll probably end up doing is taking a nice long position when we rest at support and we get that confirmation. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks again for your time. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.